Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I did a story not so long ago about somebody who signed a contract to have a house built. And they put some money down, waiting for the house to get built. The house is finally finished. They're getting ready to start thinking about a move. And the builder calls them up and says, we got a problem. Price of the house has jumped now because the market's changed. I want more money from you, a substantial more money from you. And of course, the contract that the people had signed said that the builder could do that. And I mentioned that, unfortunately, if the contract reads that way, you might get stuck. And I had a lot of people say, Steve, but were they building on their own property? Well, no. In that case, the developer had the property and sold the property that they're building a house on along with the house. So the contract you're signing says, I'm going to buy the house and the property from you after you build the house. So that's why the buyer couldn't work that out any more favorably, because they did not own the property underneath the house. But this happens everywhere, such that Neil sent me notes, and Steve, it happens in Canada too. And this is involving a condominium in Ontario. And it is exactly the same, except it's in Canada and it's a condo. But it's the same idea. And this is what can happen. Ontario woman charged $280,000 extra for condo despite having signed contract. Pat Foran wrote this for CTV News out of Toronto. People who bought units in an Ontario condominium development said they were shocked when the developer raised prices and demanded more money, despite signed contracts that had prices in them. The one woman says, they want me to pay almost $280,000 more for the same unit. I'm just shocked. I mean, I can't afford it, plain and simple, because I'm retired right now. She said she put a down payment on her Burlington condo unit in 2016 and has been waiting for it to be built. So that's quite some time. She then received a notification informing her that due to increasing construction costs, she would either have to pay more for the unit or simply accept a refund of her deposit and walk away from the deal. She signed a contract, made a down payment, and had agreed to pay $385,000 for the unit, but she's recently told the price was now $663,000 for an increase of $278,000. I thought, finally, in my retirement, I can live where I want to live in beautiful downtown Burlington. There's no way I can pay this extra money, and demanding I come up with it is extremely unfair. Meanwhile, another guy put a down payment on a unit in the same development in 2018. He told CTV, I wanted to have a place for my retirement and have something where I'm not paying $3,000 a month in rent each month. He signed a contract to purchase a unit for $435,000 and was told if he still wanted the unit, he'd have to pay $549,000 for it. I don't have $120,000 more to give. When they told me about this, I couldn't sleep. The condominium project is being done by a developer whose president and CEO told CTV News Toronto that unprecedented cost escalations have left him with no choice but to ask for more money. He said, we strive to maintain our original 2015 sales prices for buyers, but there have been unprecedented cost escalations and material shortages seen across the industry. With the significant delays in approvals and the impact of construction cost inflation, subtrades opted to walk away from the contracts they signed previously to avoid their own losses. So he's saying, look, I got problems too. Our suppliers have cited supply chain issues with extended lead times and inflation between 30 to 100% on material cost, labor, and transportation costs. We needed to find solutions to truly protect our buyers. We are in touch with each customer personally to discuss customized solutions to help everyone move forward. We have partnered with alternative lenders to help our buyers re-qualify, also with extended capped rates to further protect them from future interest rate increases. This decision was extremely difficult, and we sincerely apologize to all of our customers. Complaints about developers changing prices despite having signed contracts with buyers has caught the attention of Queen's Park, Ontario Government and Consumer Services Minister Ross Romano. He said in March that price hikes like this are being reviewed by the agency. We're not going to tolerate these types of bad faith, unethical practices of developers. They can't just unilaterally change contract terms and prices, and that is not going to be permitted to occur, he said. Other developments in Ontario have also increased prices on signed deals, blaming inflation, an increase in building costs, and supply chain issues. Romano said builders who cancel agreements to resell at higher prices could face fines and possibly even lose their licenses. Both of the consumers I told you about earlier said the province needs to take action to force developers to honor the original contracts to protect them and future buyers of developments in Ontario. And the real question is, what does the contract say? And then the other question is, and people asked this last time, and it is a perfectly valid question, what if prices of materials had plummeted? What if labor prices had dropped? What if they had finished this way ahead of schedule under budget? Would they have lowered the prices for the consumers? No, of course not. They would not have. Guaranteed they wouldn't have. They would have viewed that as a windfall and them just playing the market right. But when the prices go up, they go, oh, we can't absorb these costs. You absorb them. And so they basically say that no matter what happens, the consumer is the one that gets the brunt of it. So if prices drop, the consumers get gouged. Prices skyrocket, the consumers get gouged. And so it does depend. And again, I'm not going to claim to be an expert on Canadian law, but I can tell you that their legal system is fairly parallel to ours and a lot of its roots in the common law, which is where contract law comes from. And if you look at that, it's going to say, generally speaking, you look at the contract. And as long as the contract is not overly, unconscionable or something. And so I've seen contracts like this. I've reviewed them. I've signed them myself. And contracts will often say, we will do this job for this. But we're basing this on the cost of materials today. And it'll often say, if prices do X, then we have the right to do this. The big problem I have here, and this is a question that's not really answered that clearly, is there's a condo development. I'm guessing it's a big building, and it takes a while to build the building itself, and then the units themselves are getting built out, one at a time, basically. And so somewhere along the line, the developer recognizes that he's got higher costs, whether it's materials or labor. At what point does he notify the consumer and say, by the way, we've got a problem. We're going to have to invoke that clause in the contract that says we can raise our prices. If they call him up and say, congratulations, your unit is done. By the way, you now owe us an extra $200,000. Well, they must have known that earlier. Now, you might say, but Steve, they wouldn't have known the exact amount. They might not have. You would think, at least as a matter of courtesy, they would call you up and say, we do have an issue because, as you know, COVID and whatnot, we've got higher prices, hard to find labor, hard to find materials. We're probably going to have to increase the price on you, just to let you know. And of course, you're going to say, how much? And I'm going to say, well, it's going to be in this range. We don't know the exact number yet, but I'm giving you a heads up. Because some of these people who appear to have signed contracts years ago are just now finding out that the place they've been banking on moving to is no longer an option. And that does concern me, because if that's the case, literally these people didn't find out until they were told this number when the unit was done. If that's when they found out, it would look like the developer was pulling it in a way to get these people over a barrel to where they're more likely to pay the extra money. That is what it looks like to me. Otherwise, they'd call them up much, much earlier and say, oh, by the way, just to let you know, prices are going to be a lot higher, possibly six figures. You need to be aware of that. And if that's going to make you back out of the contract, you might want to back out now. So that's my concern. But again, I don't have the contract in front of me. The contract, as far as I know, is not online. So that's not something we can look at. But I suspect the contract has the clause in there that says we can raise the price if these things happen. If these things happen, they can raise the price. But the question is if they handled it properly, and one of those would be notifying the consumer as early as possible so the consumer can then go out and do something else if that's what they need to do. So, Neil, thanks for sending it from CTV News out of Toronto. Ontario woman charged $280,000 extra for a condo despite having a signed contract in place. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. If you have any dinner rolls, fling them now.